Hello, pen pals. Happy Leap Day. On this day that only happens once every 4 years, we have something new for you in this monthly Top 5 video. A guest. Dina from our customer care team joins me today as we take a look back at the month that was in the world of fine writing. But Dina's new with us, and she's been working for a few weeks now, and she's been really quick with getting really well acquainted with the products, and she's very eager to learn. So
you're kind.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm just telling the truth right now, because it's been a while since we had somebody new with our customer care teams. It's a lot of product knowledge, and it's a lot of specific product knowledge, and so far you've been very voracious in digesting that information. I figured you would be a good candidate to kind of show some of the new and highly talked about items that have just happened to been released or have been bestsellers during February. Just kind of to start things off, let our audience know who you are. What is it like to work for Goldspot pens?
I absolutely love working for Goldspot. I'm changed careers. For me, at my age, that's a big thing. And the minute I walked through the door, I was treated as family. I have a lot of questions, and no one ever hesitates to answer my questions. I never get the feeling like I shouldn't be asking questions. The idea of a pen to me was the kind you buy at Walmart or those throwaway ones you get at the bank. It's amazing what the pen industry is and how well Goldspot knows their pens, and they are definitely top in their field.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that was a response that we wrote out for you. Now, what do you really think about Goldspot?
No, that was really it. Well, if you really want to know. No, this is one of the best companies I have ever worked for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Not that it's my company particularly.
No, I know.
But that's what we really try to do, even with our YouTube, is that there's not a lot of people, like you said, you have an experience of writing with pens that are just, things that you just find in a cup on a desk drawer.
You could say it, garbage.
Yeah, it's junky pens.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something that's got a little bit more of a durability, a little bit more of a actual pleasurable sensation while writing with it, it's something that you don't really find anywhere. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But everybody needs that opportunity to have that education. But what's the most interesting thing that you've learned about these new and fancy pens so far?
Everything. I would have to say mostly the fountain pens. My idea of a fountain pen is the old 1800s with the quill and the guys with the high collar and the wigs on. I cannot believe the fountain pen industry, and there are collectors out there. People spend money on collecting fountain pens. There are people who just enjoy writing with fountain pens. Journaling is still a big thing. I mean, when I was a kid, which was a really long time ago, we used to write in our diaries, and now it's almost the same thing. People are journaling, and the customers are great I talk to. They're giving me knowledge, but I think that's the biggest thing. Most interesting was the fountain pens.
Part, yes. And that really has been kind of a resurgence that has taken place in let's say the last 10 years or so, because I personally have been doing this for 13 years, and about the last 10 or so has been really when fountain pens have started, because ballpoints and rollerballs and fountain pens have been around for since, let's say, the advent of the ballpoint, which was the 1950s around there when they became really popular. All of the modes have been out there, and the fountain pen's kind of really gone in the background, but then has kind of taken a part in the whole resurgence of analog writing. So it's really one of the more romanced and more complex sort of writing instruments, being that you have so many different nib sizes and inks that you could use and everything.
Well, speaking of a nib size, I had no idea what a nib was. I thought it was like a Cheez-It nib, or the first time a customer said, "Do you have an extra fine nib?" I'm like, I had no idea what a nib was. So that whole thing is so interesting to me. And I have so many questions about that still.
And then you've got nibs have their own subset of there's stainless steel, there's palladium, there's golds and everything.
My nib questions are coming, so get ready.
So
for work tomorrow.
Speaking of questions, what were what have been the most difficult questions to answer so far?
Well, the most difficult ones probably were about the refills for me. More than the nibs, what refills go with what pen. That's very confusing because some of them are proprietary. They only take their own refills, where I found out some take other people's refills or a style of refill. Like I said, I was using throwaway pens, so the fact that people are buying refills for pens is still, that's probably the toughest questions I've had. And then the second would be the nib. I don't know the difference between I'm going to say it wrong, Omniflex?
Oh, okay.
Did I say it right? Look at me, go. Omniflex as compared to a, like an extra fine regular, or the lamy or the Monteverde. Am I doing good with the names? Look at me learning here.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances between all the different nib sizes. And then also, too, what you're saying with the refills, it's kind of like getting parts for a car.
Exactly.
Because, like, some cars could use, like, other manufacturers' parts or, like, third-party manufacturers or OEM parts. And then same thing with refills. So some of them are just really specific. They could only take the brand proprietary refill, and the other ones, they could take, like, a whole bunch of different types of refills, which is actually, like, one of the benefits when you're talking about a particular pen. And you could say, like, well, this takes an international style cartridge or converter, which then means that if somebody has pens that already have like a stockpile of cartridges in that style, that means that they don't have to go buy a new selection of cartridges. They could use the cartridges that they have, or they can use the refills they have.
The idea that you can use a cartridge, but then you can also use a converter, but then you can also, like, even that's just that you can interchange. That's
and then you could eyedropper a pen too, which is something that
I haven't learned that yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I don't even.
Maybe not today, but we'll get to that.
Okay,
eventually.
good.
So
more questions.
Yeah. So, are you ready to take a look at some of our top pens
Absolutely.
of February
Bring 'em
2020? On. Awesome. Here's a quick disclaimer about this list. These top 5 pens are based on sales, likes, comments, and customer reviews on Goldspot.com during February of 2020. This isn't our personal top 5 list or a greatest of all time list. It's a list created by you, the fine people of the online pen community. At number 5, we have the Sailor Pro Gear Lucky Charm. This is a North American exclusive teal green demonstrator fountain pen. North American exclusive being that, like, Sailor is based in Japan, they distribute worldwide, and they tend to have a lot of Japanese exclusives that only stay in the Japanese market. However, Itoya, the distributors of Sailor pens, they have produced several different designs in their own colors of their choosing that are only available to the North American market, meaning like retailers in Canada, United States, Mexico, what have you. So this is part of a lineup of pens that have started in the last like several years that have come out in a lot of different colors, because frankly, before they started doing this, the Sailor 1911s and the Pro Gears were pretty kind of like bland. They were only like black or like a burgundy color or a dark blue. Like, they really weren't that exciting. But something like this is pretty exciting.
It's beautiful.
Being that, it's a nice like teal green color. It's got the rhodium trims on it. And one of the really neat things that Sailor, particularly Sailor people, will enjoy is that the nib is bicolor.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So it's a gold nib, but like on the inlay with the scroll work, it's all left the yellow gold, and then they put the rhodium finish on the rest of it to make it match that silver. You have there the Pro Gear and the standard, or the regular, that's called. So it's the larger of the two sizes. This is the slim.
I don't even see a difference.
So there is. It's a very slight difference.
Yeah.
So, but the main difference being that the regular has a 21 karat gold nib, and then the slim has the 14 karat gold nib.
So is this softer?
It's a little bit softer. So it's a little softer, it's a little bit smoother. It's something that you would notice if you, let's say, wrote with the 14 karat and then wrote with the 21, then you'd be like, oh, okay, I get.
You feel it, yeah.
You do feel it. The main difference being that gold nib is a bit bigger, and that also accounts for the price discrepancy, because you're looking at a pen that jumps in about like $90 worth in value just from that little size and nib difference.
And the Lucky Charm, I'm assuming, is because it's going to be March?
I believe so. I mean,
it's not magically delicious.
I tried it. It is not
good.
It is not very lucky either, as per our video that we had done with Chris, and we actually went to go get lottery tickets and use
Oh yes,
pretended
I
to
did
use
see
it
that.
as a scratch off.
Yes, I did see that.
We actually had somebody comment on the video was like, oh no, like they were like cringing because we made it look like you were actually scratching off the lottery ticket with the nib.
And they got nervous that you were actually ruining the nib.
I was like, yeah, the no sailor pens were harmed in the making of that video. Besides the nib and the pen, you also get in the box this is a warranty card that shows it's an authentic Sailor product from North America distribution. Then you also have the cartridges and a converter as well. And both cartridge and converter are Sailor proprietary. The Sailor cartridges are a little bit more higher in ink capacity than the converter is. So that's another thing, is if you like filling it up and using, let's say, a broad or a zoom nib, it uses a lot of ink. So you might want to like fill up the cartridges with like a syringe, which is like another technique that's like kind of a little bit more of an advanced like pen geek technique.
So is Sailor always proprietary?
Yes, Sailor is always proprietary.
Good to know.
They don't use international, they always use their own brand.
Okay.
We sell these pens on Goldspot. We just got them this month, so that's why they're featured on our top 5 list. They are selling for 20% off the retail price. The Slim is $220 with including the discount, and then the regular size with the 21 karat gold nib is on sale for $312. So at number 4 on our list is the montegrappa Elmo Graffiti Turquoise fountain pen, and this is an exclusive. This material we picked from with montegrappa. We selected it at actually Kenro Industries office in Mineola, Long Island. We went over there to visit them and do a video, and we looked through a beautiful selection of different acrylic materials and said, we would love an Elmo that's made from this really nice acrylic. And we had that produced. It was an exclusive that came out about September of 2019. Why is it on our list is because we actually started offering it with a promotion to include a free bottle of montegrappa ink with it. So all of a sudden, you know, we have a lot of more interest in this particular pen.
It's like a pearl marble.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like a turquoise pearl marble. It's really, really nice.
So I'll give you a new word of the day.
Go ahead.
All right.
Love new words.
So I like to use this word whenever it's like kind of like this cat's eye effect, where you see it kind of like shimmering or sheening in the light.
Yeah.
It's called chatoyance.
Yeah, I'll never remember that.
If you look it up or Google it, it's an actual real word.
Chatoyance.
Chatoyance. So I even have it in the notes there, chatoyant. That's
Call me, I'll say chatoyance if I remember it.
But it's also too, is what's really neat about it is that like even when you could look into the, like if you look into the cap right there,
you
can actually see the nib as I'm turning it, so it's like partially translucent in some parts. So wherever the material is kind of like a little bit on the lighter side, you could see through, and you could see like the converter in the back there and everything. So it really does have like a lot of density, like a visual appeal that is varied on each item, because this will look different than any other Elmo turquoise.
This looks like a very long nib as compared to the Sailor. Is that longer, right?
It's probably a little bit longer in design.
Yeah.
This is a Yovo number 6 size nib, which is kind of like the equivalent of saying like it's an international, which is like a nib that would fit on a multitude of different types of pens.
Right.
So one of the neat features about this is that it is pretty compatible, and you could, let's say, take the screw in converter out, grasp it with your thumb and forefinger, and then you could unscrew the nib housing from the rest of the section here, and then you could use this nib. So if you have another pen that uses the number 6 Yovo nib, you could then unscrew it and then pop that nib in there too.
I have a question, and this is related to all.
Yes.
They can be cleaned.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can rinse them, clean them. Is it good to do cleaning on them once a year or no?
Routine maintenance, like if you use, let's say, an ink that's particularly saturated or has like the shimmer particles in it, you may want to clean it out after using one of those types of inks. But if you're using, let's say, the same ink in it all the time and it's a fairly easy ink to wash out, you could leave it in there and not have to really worry about doing a full-on clean. But if you start to notice the nib performance is like starting to write a little bit drier, skipping a little bit, whatever, then you could do a full disassemble and clean, because you could either remove this or you could even pull the nib and feed out of the actual housing part and then clean it separately too.
Got it.
So you could really go all out and
clean
everything. And sometimes people do it like on every fill. And I really wouldn't recommend taking the pen apart and doing that for like every single time, like every week or whatever, because then you start to mess around with the different internals and things like that. But yeah, every once in a while is pretty good.
Okay.
This is also an international style converter. It's a screw-in threaded converter. And it also accepts international ink cartridges, of which there are a couple that are included with the pen. So you have that as well. The Elmo version that we have here has still has the acrylic threads on here. I think the newer ones that are coming out have metal threads, which for some people, because like if they grip the pen a little bit farther back, may be a little hard to grasp, because if they're metal, they tend to be a little bit on the harder side to hold.
Right.
But this pen has that nice, like,
it really is easy to
feeling,
hold.
and also too is like when you cap it, since it's the acrylic on acrylic, it has just like such a smooth motion, and just feels like the whole pen is getting nicely put together with that streamlined
And as an
look.
older person that has a little bit of arthritis in the hands, not a lot, just a little, I think a thicker pen like that is easier than a thinner.
Yeah, and it's got like a solid feel as well. It's not too light, nor is it too heavy. Yeah, and the nib sizes gives you good range. So you have extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and a 1.1 millimeter stub.
Wow.
And they are 20% off retail at $180. And like I said, includes a bottle of montegrappa ink, of which you can actually choose when you go and look at your cart. When you add one of these to the cart and you look at the cart, it'll prompt you to select the color that you'd like. So it's not just limited to just whatever bottles that we have on hand. It's whatever montegrappa ink that we have available in stock that you could choose from. So whether you'd like to have turquoise with this or not, you could pick it yourself.
Great.
At number 3, we have the Narwhal Piston-Fill fountain pens. This is a kind of like a house brand for Goldspot, something that we've collaborated with Frank from Narwhal. And we actually did a video on this a little bit earlier this month. We did a whole Narwhal review and talked about the different designs, all the different colors that you see here. We talked about the crabs, of which just reminded me that the crabs,
love the crabs.
We could have had a crab out here, but I think we're pretty short on stock on those at the moment. SBRE Brown, and you'll get to know Mr. Brown when you, or Dr. Brown, when you start to kind of like understand more about the pen review and the pen video, the YouTube video market that's there, is that he actually reviewed one of these pens. So we had sent him the Hippocampus Purple, and he had reviewed this pen, of which, of course, then, you know, when people review pens, it generates more interest and traffic and everything like that. So there was a review. He did a really great job with it. I think you could watch it to get a good laugh, because when he does his reviews, he's very, like, he has, like, a very, like, you know, kind of funny candor, and he asks like different characters he actually does
that's
with
awesome.
too. He went to town on the whole fact that this was called the Narwhal pen, because it's, you know, it's not every day that you hear about a pen that's named after a creature of which some people believe is mythical because of the horn, but it's actually real.
It's
actually a tooth. It's a tooth that grows out and punctures essentially their top lip, and it, for some reason or another, scientists can't figure out what the actual purpose, or if it actually does have a purpose. They think that it could like be related to like mating or finding other narwhals or something like that, but they don't know. But the whole entire pen is actually made out of acrylic. It's machine, you know, it's turned acrylic, and you would see like wherever you don't see the swirls, you see completely through. It's very transparent.
Yes, it really is.
And it really allows you to see all the ink inside the pen.
You see the ink and how much you have and everything.
And it's a piston fill, so it doesn't use a converter, but it works using the back blind cap of the pen to activate the piston. So you just screw it the one way, and then comes back up and bring it down.
Are they hard to fill, the pistons?
No, they're pretty easy. It's a little bit harder to clean than, let's say, a cartridge converter, because with a cartridge converter you could just take it apart and then clean the parts individually, either the section or the actual converter itself. But with this, you have to clean it and kind of flush the ink out back and forth.
What about air? Do you get air in there once in a while?
You would probably get some air, like you would probably have a pocket of air, but just as long as you're filled up, it has such a high capacity that you could fill it up like halfway and still be able to write with it much longer than somebody who's filling a cartridge or converter.
Yeah, I've had a customer call and say, what is the highest capacity of one of your pens? And I didn't know. I would have told her. And these are beautiful.
Yeah, so the 3 finishes here have silver trim, and then this one, the yellow tang, has gold. it's not a solid gold nib, but it's a gold-plated stainless steel nib. It's got the narwhal logo on it. The two finishes here, the Poseidon blue and the merman green, they're a bit more opaque, but you could kind of still see through them.
I like how you give them ocean names.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
We kind of went through that.
Yeah.
You were asking about why was it called narwhal?
Narwhal, yeah.
So it was actually one of the owners, Sal. His son all of a sudden was just like, because they were spitballing some names for the brand and everything.
Yeah.
Brings up narwhal. I said, you know what? That kind of sounds pretty cool.
Out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's the kids that
Kids
bring
know what's
the
going
vitality into this.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
It's just fun to kind of like go onto it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's what naming all the different models after various like either, you know, aquatic, you know, themes or like other themes of myth and water things. You know, that's just where it comes from, is that whole concept of having the ocean be serve as the inspiration behind it all.
Well, I'm going to have to talk to Sal. Maybe new employees should get a pen, don't you think?
I think so too.
Welcome to the company.
A nice fountain pen.
I think that was lovely.
Although they're not Yovo nibs, these are nibs that are custom made from narwhal.
You could see their logo right on there.
Yeah, you can see the logo, but you could also notice that kind of like they're very similarly shaped as the number 6 Yovo was. So you could actually take this and you could replace it with the number 6 size Yovo nib. So if you would be able to kind of like pull it out, it's a little bit tougher, and I wouldn't recommend
I'm not doing it.
for total newbies to do it.
No, and I'm a newbie.
But like it's something that kind of gives you a little bit more compatibility with other nibs that you have, and be able to find and put different nib sizes on the narwhal pen, other than the find that actually comes in. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and for $45, really, like, you know, you could be doing a lot worse with your pen budget.
Absolutely.
So number 2 on our list is the Lamy AL-Star Turmaline pen, ink, and notebook collection that just came out this year. Special edition for 2020. Lamy does this with their Safari and their All-Star collections. Each year they come out with a new color, or a new set of colors in the case of the Safari. For the All-Star, they produced a fountain pen, a rollerball of which is currently sold out, and a ballpoint pen. It's a very nice, like, saturated sort of like cyan, aquamarine, or it's a very strong color. It certainly, I think, appeals to both men and women, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just has a very like bright appeal. The fountain pen uses a stainless steel nib. It's a proprietary Lamy stainless steel nib that is that just essentially, instead of like screwing out or pulling out, like this kind of just slides in and out on top of that feed that's there. It's available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and a left-handed nib.
Wow.
So this is the first time ever that they've released a special edition with a left-handed nib option, which is something that we do get occasionally from lefties. They're like, well, is there any pen that's specifically made for left-handed, a fountain pen for
What is
left-handed
the
people?
difference? I'm just curious.
It has to do with the tipping material. It's just slightly shaped differently to be more accommodating for a lefty's posture.
Yeah, got it.
So like everything else is considered to be like right-handed, or just kind of like multi-purpose. My father's left-handed, and he uses normal nibs. He doesn't have to get them modified or anything like that. So he just uses it as you would normally. But like, it's nice to have an option that would be more accommodating for a left-handed person. So the finish with the All-Star is actually anodized like aluminum. And this is kind of like the reason why it's a little bit more of a premium than the Safari. The Safari's made all of ABS plastic, which is a pretty hard-wearing material. But the All-Star has like a little bit more of that, you know, sophistication with that metallic finish that's on there.
Nice big clip too. Look at that.
Nice big sturdy wire clip.
Yeah, it is sturdy, that's for sure.
And the sections on all 3 writing modes are made of a translucent plastic material, so you could see through to the either the feed or the ballpoint or rollerball refill that's there.
Are they interchangeable? Can you put a rollerball in a ballpoint?
Not with Lamy, no.
Okay.
With certain brands, let's say Waterman particularly, with their rollerballs, you could use a ballpoint or rollerball refill in there. But with Lamy, they use For the ballpoints, an M16 refill, which is proprietary, and then for the rollerballs, it's an M63 refill, which is also proprietary. You can't use like a standard international.
You have to write all this down for me. I'm never going to remember.
There's so much information.
Listen, the brain is old. I can't remember all this, but.
And the fountain pen uses the T10, which is, you've seen this obviously with the other cartridges. Yeah. This is not something that looks like the other cartridges.
Right.
Or it uses an LZ28 converter, but that's also proprietary as well. It's not like a standard international converter. What's neat about the Safari or the All-Star is that you have a little cutout here.
Right.
So you could see through and see the ink level that's in the fountain pen.
That's great.
Which is pretty neat there,
That is cool.
So the pens also come with a matching bottle of ink, pack of ink cartridges in the matching color ink.
Wow.
But unfortunately, out of cartridges right now, so I couldn't put that here to show. But the bottle of ink here, and you were asking about this guy here.
Yeah, that's.
So this is a roll of blotting paper. The blotting paper is so that when you fill a fountain pen, you could tear a little bit off of it and be able to blot the excess ink on there. So it's pretty cool that Lamy would think of something like that. And also the bottles are a little bit more squat and have a wide mouth so that you could fit your pen easily in the bottle, and that most of the ink will be at the middle part of it so that you don't have to worry about going way deep and then having ink that's not accessible for your filling needs. These will all, like especially the inks, they go up in value pretty quick. So from the $12 that this bottle of ink goes to, for example, a few years ago we had an ink called Dark Lilac that it was originally sold for like $12. Now, if you go buy a brand new bottle online, guess how much it's going to cost you?
How much?
Like $90 to $100 for a bottle of ink. So, it's
amazing.
It just depends on like how rare it was or like how much people loved it.
Right.
I think this is a color that people really enjoy because it's a really nice, bright bluish, greenish color.
Well, it's a unisex color too. Yeah. You can, it really is.
Yeah, and this is the first time that they put a notebook, which I can't show you either because that's also sold out now too at this time. But like the Lamy had gotten into the notebook design last year, and they made a version for this All-Star now, which also matches the whole aesthetic of like the metallic finish with the color on the edge that would be on the page edges there. So it all together looks awesome, and we've had a lot of customers buy it whole as like a group. Pen, ink, and like notebook all together.
I never thought of matching the ink to a pen color.
Oh, that's a big thing.
I noticed yesterday I had a customer on the phone. We had to go searching for an ink color for a pen, and I didn't even know that it existed.
Well, that was actually for the petrol pen, right?
That was for the petrol blue.
Yeah, and that was the petrol ink. Gone. Also very high price to find that ink if you want to look for that particular matching ink. But there are other colors like we were looking at that could be close.
Right.
So
very
that's
close.
where you would then find something that's a little bit on the closer side that isn't exactly what it, the original. So at number 1 for February 2020, we have the Retro 51 Leap Rollerball.
Leap.
It's the first limited edition popper of 2020, and it is in celebration of the leap year, of the leap day, which is when we're planning on posting this video. It was an immediate sellout, took a little bit more than 2 hours to sell the entire run of these guys out, at least our allocation. It was a limited edition of 888 pieces, which is significant to the lucky number 8. They just kind of pick these things sometimes. Doesn't necessarily have to do with like the moon or things like that. But this is actually Sal's pen, and he gave me permission to open it, which I know may make a lot of Retro 51 people cringe because they're like, "Oh my God, it's in the original packaging. Why would you do this?" But he said he's cool with it, so we're going to open it. So one of the neat things about this pen is that it came with a lunar calendar.
Oh, how cool is that?
Which is, they said, was printed on like galaxy paper or something like that, which I could see has like a little bit of a kind of like a sparkle
shimmer. Yeah.
So it's got the entire lunar calendar for 2020 on there, which is what the design of the pen is based off of. This. Oh, I'm just getting stuff all over the place. Sorry. So this particular model they did in a navy blue, and then they printed the entire lunar calendar on the pen as a wraparound design. It's actually glow in the dark, so any of the places that you see that are white on here, when you charge it in the light,
wow,
you shut the lights off, it'll start glowing in the dark, which is pretty neat. I like the whole glow in the dark feature. We designed it with the Skyline pens and everything. And then you've got antique pewter accents, so you have like that on the knurled grip there, the clip and the nose cone section. And then on the very top disc, we have a map or like a globe of the Western Hemisphere here.
Yep.
And then on the top ring, you would have the edition number, which is engraved on there. It's 101 of 888. That's a twist action type rollerball pen. You would unscrew this to refill the pen. It has a spring, so you have to be very careful not to misplace your spring.
Lose the spring.
And the refill that comes with it is a Ref 5P, which is a black capless, they refer to as a Schmidt, which is a German manufacturer of refills. It can be refillable using other Schmidt refills, or Retro 51 makes their own versions, which is a Ref 5P or Ref 57P, or you could also use Parker style ballpoint refills. So you could use an Easy Flow 9000, which is a variant of a Parker style refill that's made by Schmidt. It's a free-flowing sort of refill. Also, too, is that there's Parker-style refills that are made with gel ink, because this is a very free-flowing sort of rollerball type ink that's in there. So if you want something that still runs nice and smooth and gives you like a fairly nice flowing line, but isn't as like thick, then I would opt for like the gel inks. So it's fairly adaptable. And also, too, is we did a hack, where there's a hack video that we did like a year or so ago, where we actually took apart the rollerball refill and then filled it with fountain pen ink, because there's a sponge in there. So you rinse out the sponge in the cartridge, and then you fill it with fountain pen ink.
And it worked?
Worked. Also, to kind of mention as well, because we have our other exclusives here, we still have the Sydney, which was a pretty big popular seller in February. We have the Ombre, the Blue Lagoon, which was also a pretty popular one. And then we still have some of the Christmas in New York, which is another of our Skyline editions, which these two are the ones that glow in the dark.
Oh, that's really neat.
So the whole concept behind these is that they have a skyline, and of course in the daytime you would see the skyline as it is, but then when you like look at it at night, like a skyline at night would then start to glow with all the lights in the city. So these two, the Sydney and the Christmas in New York, they're pretty much almost done. Like, we're getting down to the very nitty-gritty on these guys. So I just figured it would be worthwhile mentioning that if people are kind of back collecting or just getting into Retro 51s,
thinking about it, order it.
Thinking about it, place an order for it now. Unfortunately, you can't place an order for any of these anymore unless you call Sal and you ask him, pretty please, can I purchase your pen? Of which he might then have to negotiate with you. I don't know. Originally, they were going for $49, but now we're starting to see them on eBay for people who are selling them for, you know, let's say brand new or slightly used, and they're going quite up there. And that's what any of these Retro 51s, it's kind of crazy to see where they end up going from like their initial selling price, and they start selling them on eBay for crazy markups. But we still have everything. Anything that you would see that we promote here is still going to be retail price. It's not, we're not going to price gouge anybody, except for maybe Sal, which we can't speak for him. So, so that does it for our top 5 list of February 2020. What to look forward to in March. So we have a few new designs that we're expecting, one of which is coming from Italy, from Leonardo. They're planning on sending us 3 new Momento Zero acrylics. There's also what they call a Cuspide, which I believe that's how it's referred to. It's kind of like a layered acrylic that they made. That's supposedly no other manufacturer makes this particular type of acrylic, which I've seen some preview shots on their Instagram feed, and it looks fantastic. It looks awesome. We also have a couple of new editions of the Edison Newark, which they're made out of Milan, Ohio, which is the birthplace of Thomas Edison. This will be kind of like an ongoing collection of these 2 new finishes, so keep a lookout for that. There is a new Lamy Safari, which we're expecting to announce on March 1st. Keep a lookout for that. It's the first time. I mean, it's kind of, the information's kind of leaked out there already in the pen community, but we're officially announcing it and then having it available so that people could then put their email address down so they could be able to get a notification when it becomes available in early April. Then we also have the Platinum Curidas, which is the retractable fountain pen that we had talked about in like a live video that we did last week. So then we also have the Pelikan M200 Pastel Green, which actually occupies the back cover of our new updated issue of our magazine. That we're looking forward to because it's a very springy sort of color. You know, it's a relatively low price point for Pelikan, so it's kind of an entry-level type of pen, although not really like as entry-level as, to say, a narwhal, but it still is a really nice quality pen. Then, like as I mentioned, we're updating the Goldspot Pens magazine, so if you kind of missed out on the issue that we had in November, you could then request a new issue because we're getting another 10,000 copies printed. So that'll be pretty cool to kind of see like all the new editions and things like that in that magazine, and be able to refresh our customers on what, you know, new things that are coming out. So what kind of things would you be looking forward to in March? What kind of new pens and or I mean like new things that
I like color. Anything with color. It makes you feel good. You guys did give me a couple pens to have me write with, and it just I like the color. So anything with bold colors or bright, vivid colors, these are beautiful.
That's why I think you'll really like the Leonardos. I think you'll like the
Leonardos,
the Edisons that we have coming, because they're going to be really nice and colorful. I think even the Safaris too, very colorful, and that's really where like the direction of pens have gone, like, because they've been very conservative. Like when I started working, it was very like much about like just black and silver, black and gold, silvers, like stainless steel. Ooh, maybe we'll throw in like a dark blue. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there's this explosion of color where it's just like, oh well, you know, we couldn't have even imagined selling a yellow pen. No. And now we're like, oh well, we're reordering more narwhals and they're coming in, or reordering these very bright like aqua green all-stars. You know, it just tastes have evolved. You know, it's pretty cool to see that. Thanks to all of you that support Goldspot Pens by liking, subscribing, and placing orders on goldspot.com.
Stay inky, my friends.
Take care.